So, Angie Howell, thanks for joining me and being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to visit with you about this story.
An amazing story. And I want everyone to get ready for a beautiful story of brokenness, redemption, and a biker's prayer. Can you believe that? All in this book called Jewel of Heaven. It's a reminder that God meets us in our struggles. And I know someone needs that hope today.
So I was actually in a really bad spot in my life. I had already been married and divorced a couple of times. I was married my third marriage, and it was on the brink of divorce. And so here I am in my mid 30s, just an absolute hot mess, trying to figure life out, not following Jesus, lukewarm Christian at best. And I find out I'm pregnant again as I'm planning to leave my husband. Yeah, talk about a mess. And I think people, when they read this story, they're just going to resonate with how messy life gets,
Mhm.
especially when we're not handing those things over to Jesus and walking with Him on the path that He would have designed for us.
And so, what happened with the pregnancy that the blessing came into your life and changed everything?
Yeah, so I had a really rough pregnancy, a lot of couple of medical emergencies. And the whole time I thought something just wasn't right. But everyone said, no, look, everything's going well. She's born and she's perfect and she's beautiful. And I just thought, I spent the last 9 months worrying about something that was unnecessary to worry about. And all was well with her for
Mm.
5 days, and then it just wasn't well. As a nurse, because I'm a pediatric registered nurse, and at the time I was an international board certified lactation consultant, I could get any baby to breastfeed, any baby to eat. And here I am, mom of eight, all this experience behind me, and I could not get my sweet baby Jade to eat. And I realized I'm at home and I'm tired. And of course, you've got all these kids at home and this new baby. And I thought maybe it's because I'm an older mom. Maybe it's because I just have worried so much for so long and didn't want to really accept that there might be something wrong with her. And one day I just realized she was 5 days old, and I looked down at this table of all this paraphernalia that I used to help babies eat. And I realized at that moment, my daughter isn't lazy. She's dying right now in front of me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So what did happen then? So what happened?
Yeah, so she was really floppy. She couldn't swallow. She wouldn't wake up. As the nurse in me went straight for the stethoscope and the thermometer, and I started doing my assessment, and I realized there's something really, really wrong going on. And so we rushed back to the hospital. She was admitted into the PICU, the pediatric intensive care unit. And just that was really the beginning of this journey of what's wrong with Jade? Why is she so broken? Why have we gotten to this spot?
Mhm.
Tons of specialists, a feeding tube, brain MRIs, and it just kind of led us into this place that I just was not prepared for.
How did you see God work in there though? I mean, did you come to God at this point? Were you seeking God?
I was, like I said, that lukewarm Christian. And so I would pray, when I felt like, oh, I guess I could, use a prayer right now. But I became very, very angry with God when I watched Jade going through a lumbar puncture, which is what we get when we have an epidural, right? They put this needle in your spine, and they wanted to test her for an infection. So I watched that. I watched, multiple lab tests and pokes and prods and like all of this stuff that she was going through. I became very angry with God, and I just kept asking him, why would you allow this to happen to Jade? Why would you let this happen to me? So
Mhm.
instead of it bringing me back to faith, I was just that rebellious Angie who just went rogue and did her own thing. And I just said, you know what? You've forgotten about us, so I'm going to turn my back on you.
Hmm. And a lot of people do that in a
Yeah.
crisis like that. They'll just say, like, God, why are you putting me through this? I don't
Hmm.
understand it. Where are you right now? Because I
Hmm.
feel like you left me.
Yeah.
But but that moment, what in that moment when you knew you couldn't do anything on your own, what did you do?
Yeah, we're back at the hospital and Jade's laying on the bed and I mean the color had just drained from her. She was kind of this ashen gray, 5 days old and I remember that moment just laying my head on the bed and just saying, Lord, I know you've left me, but if you're here, just give it to me. Just take it from her, give it to me. I trade my life for hers. And of
Hmm.
course, there wasn't a trade, and things didn't immediately get better. In fact, they got worse. But it was the journey. It was the path that God had designed because for me, it was going to take something like that to
Hmm.
turn me around.
Hmm. And so now she's in the hospital for how long?
She was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. We were out for a week or two, back in the hospital for a lot more tests. And
Hmm.
so that kind of went on for a few months. But by the time she was 2 months old, we had some tests done that revealed some very, very, very concerning diagnosis with her brain. She had a brain MRI and the neurologist just said, I'm sorry to let you know this, but she has no myelination of the white matter of her brain. And that's just a big medical terminology phrase for there was no insulation around any part of her white matter in her brain, nor, in her nerves. And so she was on this constant misfiring because without that myelination, we just can't communicate correctly within our body.
Now, the diagnosis comes when?
That's the crazy thing is we never really got like the diagnosis because this absent myelination is really this, I called it the evil, sinister symptom of something else. And so that took us down this path of testing for lysosomal storage disorders, metabolic storage disorders, genetic syndromes, leukodystrophies, just all of these things, all of which were fatal. And so it
Mhm.
wasn't like the doctors came to us and said, hey, we have this pretty benign thing we're going to test her for. It was always, always something that would take her life. It was just not a matter of if, it was a matter of when and how long or how short we would have with Jade.
Mhm. Now you prayed that prayer and you saw her going in and out of the hospital. No diagnosis in sight. So how did you see God working? I mean, did you see God working?
I just went the same place that I had always gone, which was into my dark spot. And I ended up Jade has at this point, she's 2 months old or so. She has a permanent feeding tube in her stomach that I feed her through. I am pumping breast milk every 2 hours to feed her day and night. This is not a daytime job. It's a 24-hour extraordinary medical care. And I'm also postpartum. And so add the hormones to that. I've got a baby who's dying. I've got other children who I'm neglecting because I'm so focused on her. I'm in a terrible marriage that was supposed to end and didn't because now we have this baby. And I just found myself in what I called the dungeon of my life. And I was so deep and it was so dark that I end up contemplating taking my own life in the garage of my home
Mm.
when everyone was gone and it was safe and I knew nobody could save me. I end up in the garage. But by the grace of God, he just swept in and pulled me right out of that place.
How did that happen? Did like somebody come in? Did you hear
Yeah.
his voice?
Yeah, so I had left Jade in the house and you got to understand like I am fully mental health wise, I've never been in that spot. I think people who have been so low can sort of understand, like, nothing makes sense. My
Hmm.
family had left for the weekend. They were going to be gone for a couple of days. And I had
Wow.
decided there was a final breaking point, and I just said, I can't do it anymore. And so I went into the garage and I'm sitting there and I'm just crying out to God. Jade's by herself. She's like 3 months old in the house. Nobody is going to come and check on her because they're gone for 2 days. And I'm in the garage and I'm just crying out to God and I'm banging on the steering wheel. God, why are you doing this? Why have you done this? I can't do this
Hmm.
anymore.
Hmm.
And this, probably from the banging on the steering wheel, this picture sort of floats down of me and Jade and my kids.
Oh,
And I felt like it was just God's answer. Like,
oh,
you can't leave her. She
yeah,
needs you. You have to get back in there.
yeah.
And then it just sort of like brought me back to reality. And I went, oh my God, ran in my house. And here she lays, this beautiful little baby who I had just fought so hard to keep alive just so that she could one day die. So
Mm.
the way the Lord works is, again, just it's so amazing. It's so incredible how
And
he worked in all of that.
and so now you've gotten past that part. Now she's starting to grow, and you probably
Yeah.
thought, well, hey, I don't know what her prognosis is now. Is she going to be alive for
Right.
her whole lifespan, or what's
Yes.
happening? So what did you do? How did you,
You
what
know,
happened?
at that point, we still knew that the prognosis was not going to be good, even though we didn't have a name for everything that was going on with her. But at that point, I went back to anger, right? Like, there's that whole grief cycle. And I found myself, I was no longer depressed. I was just mad. I was mad at at Jade's dad. I was mad at myself. I was really mad at God. But my cousin Rich, he just kind of kept showing up in the picture. And he was the guy that God sent to just, like, wake me up. Hey, Angie, I want to pray for her. No, Rich, I don't want to hear from you. Hey, Angie, I want to read my Bible over you. No, Rich, God has left. I don't want to hear it. And
Hmm.
finally, one day I had been ignoring him. Jade was 3.5 months old or so. I had been ignoring his calls and I just could not deal with it because I was so angry. But I accidentally answered like an unknown call or something, and it was Rich. And he said, I really think we should get the brothers together. Rich was in a Christian biker group. And he said, I really think we should get the brothers together and pray over her. And I just finally said, all right, that's fine. If that'll get you off my back, I will bring her to your Christian biker party. You guys can pray over her and then, like, leave me alone. And so I agreed to it.
That is amazing. And so now she's 3.5 months old. You
Hmm.
show up with all these bike. How many biker guys were there?
Oh my goodness. Between the biker guys and their wives, I bet there's between 20 and 25 people or so. We pull up to this modular home and it's really hot. We're in August at this point in Colorado, and it was like in the 90s. And there's all these Harleys that are lined up outside this small house, and there are men out front smoking cigarettes, wearing their Harley jackets and their leather jackets. And I just thought, what the heck have I gotten myself into? They've got tattoos on their neck. And I said, okay, well, I told them I would do this, so I'm going to do this. And we go into the home, and I was just, I didn't even know how to respond. Oh my goodness. My cousin starts the prayer, and I had never experienced a prayer like this before, where there's so many people like around us, and we're in the middle of this bullseye. And he's speaking this amazing prayer. I've got people on this side speaking in tongues, and I've got other people preparing some oil. And all of a
Oh,
sudden these hands just come out and start to lay hands on her. And I just thought, oh my, what is going what is going on right now?
I'm getting the holy bumps over here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that must have been amazing. That's when you see the power of God starting to work, right? And so once you were in that, how did you step out? Did you like say, Lord, you are real? I mean,
Yeah.
what was your comment?
Yeah, so I don't think I had one because I was in shock. I grew up in this very, very Baptist uh, church, and we didn't do laying of hands, and we didn't do tongues, and so this was all very, very new to me. And they started putting the oil on her forehead and in her hair, and
Mhm.
then on other places of her body where she had had medical problems. And I think I was just so stunned. All I could do was like look over here for the door because I thought this 20-minute prayer is going to end, and as soon as it does, I mean, it just went on and on, and everyone took their turn with their hands, and all I could think was I cannot believe I just brought my baby into this situation and they're putting their filthy hands all over her. Look at who I was. How shameful for me to be able to look back and go, these people were praying for my daughter. And all I could think was their filthy cigarette smoking hands were going on her. And I had forgotten, and I actually hadn't forgotten. I didn't even know how God uses the most unlikely people to perform these extraordinary miracles.
Yeah,
It was such an experience. So yeah, we leave and I'm angry. I'm like, Rich, I can't believe you let your friends put their filthy hands on my baby. She gets sick. This is on you. And we get in the car and I'm just suddenly I just feel peace and I feel
oh,
calm and I feel something's different. Something's just changed. And I can't identify it or explain it, but something's different.
oh my gosh, what a story. Unbelievable. And when God comes upon you and gives you that peace, it
Yeah.
just makes you feel like he sees me, right? He's
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
me. He's seeing the
Yeah.
inside of what's happening in my life with Jade and everything that's going on and I'm not alone. And
Right.
and so from there, you step out? How did the rest of the infant time go and
Yeah.
your spiritual walk?
Yeah. Wow. So I felt that peace and things started to feel normal in a sense that you never go back to what your life was before. When you have a child that has disabilities and such extraordinary needs, everything has changed. But there was this peace in this new normal that I was given. Jade was still going to die. She still had a fatal diagnosis. She still wasn't going to get better, but there was a peace that overcame me just with all of that. And so we had already had this follow-up brain MRI scheduled because really it was to figure out, okay, how much worse is it? Because she had gotten much worse since she had the first brain MRI. And so, how much worse is she? How much time do we have? And, how much more planning of funerals and things do we have to look at? So, we get the brain MRI. Again, I have no more anger, just some kind of peace. And the neurologist just says, hey, I need you to come back in like I did the first time because I want to show you again. So the first time, the first brain MRI, he put up two screens. Okay, so on the left side was this beautiful normal brain of a newborn baby. It was bright. It was amazing. And then he popped up Jade's, and her brain was just you could tell there was just really nothing glowing, nothing beautiful. And so he said, I need to show you. I need to show you what's going on. So we go back and we walk in and he comes in and he says, I'll pop these screens up again. And so up pops the left side, and it's again this beautiful brain. And I'm just thinking, oh, I wish my daughter's brain could just be like this, just so beautiful. And I turn and I look and I'm waiting for the other screen to pop up and it just doesn't. And he says, the neurologist says, I can't explain this, but this is her brain and it's completely normal. I've never had this happen. I've never seen this in my history as a neurologist, but her brain is normal. And
Oh my,
so, yeah.
what did you think?
Oh my, I can't even explain. The tears of gratitude. My daughter is sitting in a car seat beside me, and I can see that her brain is completely normal and we have hope now.
Yeah,
What we had felt 5 minutes before was we came in to see how long we had to spend with our child.
yeah,
And we leave here with so much hope that her brain is not only not getting worse, but there's been a miracle. There's
yeah,
been a miraculous healing of this brain. And
right.
gratitude, so much gratitude, and something again changed inside of me.
And so this is all happening to you. What's happening with your husband? I mean,
Yeah.
how's he dealing with this?
Oh, Jade's dad is, eh, he would just shake his head and just be like, "You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me." He was always sort of like the naysayer in some things, but he just switched too. We both just couldn't even believe it.
Now is he a believer as well?
At the time, neither of us were really walking with the Lord, but I
Right.
think that just this whole experience with Jade really, truly had changed us both. We ended up going our separate ways,
Mhm.
and I know that now in his life, he and his new wife are definitely believers. Yes,
That's amazing.
yes,
Boy, God can take anything and make it brand
absolutely,
new and change us and transform
absolutely.
us. What a beautiful story. Now let's fast forward. How's Jade doing now, and how are you doing now?
Yeah, so even with a brain MRI that was the normal, our lives really didn't change a whole lot in the immediate. So she still wasn't eating. She
Hmm.
still struggled in everything that we did with her. The difference was that we knew that there was hope. And so we worked with a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, all of those things. And she today is 18 and has gone through a ton of transformation herself. She had that feeding tube until she was 13 years old. That's
Okay.
been removed. But all the things that we were told, she's going to die. She won't ever walk or talk or eat or any of those things. She not only walks, talks, and eats, but she has been a missionary in Mexico. She's climbed a
Mhm.
mountain in Colorado with me and some other friends. And Jade is truly one of the most extraordinary human beings I've ever met. It's because of her and this journey that we've been on that I started my own company, and we take care of children and adults with disabilities. And
Yeah.
so Jade, even at 18, she has some cognitive disabilities, but she's such an absolute, I wouldn't change anything about her. Wouldn't change a hair on her head. God created her exactly the way that she's supposed to be. And she's an incredible person.
You must be so proud of her and so grateful to God through this whole thing. Like I'm sure God had worked on you for years, following all that as he breaks us down, each one of
Yes.
us, right? Because sometimes when the miracles happen like that, you don't fully come in right away unless you're Paul on the road to Damascus, then you're immediately changed. But
Right.
most people just, it takes time when they see that miracle. It takes time for them to come to the Lord and to really seek him and to know him.
Yes.
And so you became this amazing woman of God. So how has that changed you?
Yes. Yes. I think what I try to tell everyone is that no one is beyond the powerful reach of God's, love and healing. Not even the woman at the well, the broken, the Christian bikers who some had been in jail and been in trouble, who had found Jesus. Like, we have to remember that Jesus joins us in the middle of our mess. He is there with us. And I think when I got to a spot in my life where I felt no more guilt and shame, and I was able to leave it at the cross at Jesus' feet, that's when I was able to see this massive transformation that happened in my life as well. I am not the same person today as I was the day that Jade was born. And were it not for this journey that God has created for us, I'm not sure who I would be or where I would be. And I wouldn't, as hard as it was, I know now that He was with us the whole way, that He has worked all things together for good, and that I sit in the space that I do now, not by my works, but by the blessings of Jesus and my Heavenly Father.
Hmm. And don't you, I mean, when I'm looking at you and I'm hearing your story and the way that you're talking about it, I think to myself, God just meets you where you are, right?
Yes,
If
absolutely.
it, I mean, when he brought you to that biker prayer, like he just knew your heart. He
Yes.
knew that she would probably be a little open to that.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a good place for her, for me to grab a hold of her heart. So I love the way that God meets us where we are. And can you speak into someone's life right now who might be going through something like that?
Absolutely. Time when I got that miracle, we got a miracle that we did not pray for. Okay. I wanted Jade to be perfect. I wanted her to be completely healed. I wanted her to grow up to have this normal life. That was my prayer. I
Mm,
didn't get that exact miracle, but I got the miracle that God needed to use in my life. And I would have to say, God comes even to those who are not fully filled with faith. Okay. I was a faithless, broken woman at the well who was such a mess. And I just want everyone to know God doesn't expect you to, you're never going to be perfect, but God doesn't expect you to be. Jesus is going to join you in your mess, and He is going to help you through it. He's going to be there with you. And the other thing I would say, because a lot of people who follow me have children with disabilities, every day I know you're praying for miracles. I know you're praying for that miracle healing of your child. And whether it's the kiddo with CP or Down syndrome or seizure disorder, whatever it is, you may not get that exact miracle that you're praying for. But don't you stop praying and don't you stop asking, because every day that your child is with you, every day you have that opportunity to look at your child and love on your child and care for your child. That in itself is a miracle. So you may have to just dig deep, deep to find the miracle of the day, but it's there. I promise you it's there.
And Angie, before we got on, you were saying that God is still continuing to open doors for you as you're walking Jade through on this journey. Can you talk
Yes.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, you bet. So, because of this book and writing the book and Jade's all of her problems that she had as a baby, when she was 17, so last December, went back for genetic testing because there's obviously still like, well, what happened? We still don't really know why she had her problems. And we found out in February, this is how the enemy works, boy, coming at us hard with attacks. So 2 months before my book was to release, we get the results that Jade has this, it's called a FUS gene mutation, completely unrelated to what happened as a baby. And this FUS gene mutation causes a form of ALS. It's a juvenile ALS, and it's extremely aggressive. It is called a de novo, which is sporadic. So most people who have this sporadic ALS or FUS ALS, they don't know for many, many, many months. And by the time they find out what it is, they are already in a wheelchair or on a ventilator or really at the last few months of their lives. Now, here's why I bring this up because we would not have known about this sporadic FUS mutation were it not for all of the problems that Jade had as a baby. And because we know, we have the opportunity to work with a world renowned FUS ALS specialist who has the ability to do an experimental treatment when that time comes. And it's been an amazing, historic, groundbreaking progress made with this particular type of ALS. So, you want to talk about God going before us? And I'm sitting in a dungeon screaming out to God, why are you doing this to us? Why are we going through this? Well, 18 years later, I can look back and say, praise God, thank you, Jesus, because if all of that hadn't happened, we would not know what we know now, and Jade would not have the opportunity to literally receive life-saving treatment.
Well, all I can say is I'm just going to send those blessings to Jade and
Praise
whoever is
God.
out
Thank
there.
you.
Please pray for Jade and
Thank
please
you.
pray for Angie as she's walking through this because hey, it's not easy and she's trying to get this whole word out about her story and how there is hope. There's hope in God. When you think that that all is lost, there is hope. God still hears your prayers no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you've done. He hears you. He hears you. So this book, Jewel of Heaven, which is just a treasure book, has just a big following. So there's some things in the works. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yes. So we are working right now with a man named Grant Neporty, and he is the screenwriter who wrote the movie Breakthrough with Chrissy Metz and the story of John Smith, who fell through the ice and was clinically dead. And he also wrote 7 Pounds for Will Smith. So he is writing the screenplay right now. I just texted with him this morning, actually. And we are super excited to hopefully be moving this to market in the next probably 5 to 6 months.
That's amazing. So everyone, get a jump on the book,
Yeah.
okay? And you can find out more about Angie and get this book, Jewel of Heaven, at angiehowell.com. And
Yes.
everything is there. You can get the book there. You can get it on Amazon, but you want to go to her website and look
Mhm.
around there. And you can read some more of the stories, but you get a jump on that story, you get the book first, and then you get to see the movie maybe later. But
Mhm.
so Angela, thank you for sharing this story. What would you like to leave my audience with today?
I think I want to leave them with just the sense of hope. Put your faith in Jesus. Know He's always there with you, no matter what you're going through. He's going to join you in the middle of your mess. So keep your eyes open, your ears open, and listen for Him because I promise you, He's there.
I'm so glad you joined me today. Angie's story was amazing. And I want to ask you to like and subscribe and share for more Christ-centered conversations. Visit the website, thecallwithNancySabato.com. Until next time, all glory and honor to King Jesus.